Coming up on iOS today, Rosemary Orchard is back, and that means it's time for us to talk about weather apps. That's right. What weather app will replace dark sky on your iOS and iPadOS devices? Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is iOS Today, episode 637, recorded Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. Weather apps for iOS. This episode of iOS Today is brought to you by ACI Learning. If you love IT Pro, you'll love ACI Learning. ACI Learning offers fully customizable training for your team in formats for all types of learners across audit, cybersecurity, and IT. From entry-level training to putting people on the moon, ACI Learning has got you covered. Visit acilearning.com to learn more. Welcome back to iOS Today, the show where we talk all things iOS, tvOS, HomePodOS, watchOS, and iPadOS, and S. Perhaps even eventually RealityOS. This is the show where we talk about all of Apple's platforms that are, mobile, digital, moving about, and we try to help you make the most of your devices here on this show. I am one of your hosts, Mikah Sargent.
And I am Rosemary Orchard. Hi, everybody.
Welcome back, Rosemary.
Thank you. I had a lovely time in France this week, but it was a little bit rainy, Mikah. And, I had to do some weather forecast checking to see when I could fly my drone and, what weather was going to be like traveling there, traveling back. So I got to do some research for this episode, which was quite fun.
That's good. It's like California knew that we were going to be doing this episode because here it has been raining nonstop for the past, I think, 3 weeks. It's ridiculous. I've never seen this much rain in California. I haven't lived here, for a super long time. I moved here in 2019, but everybody who has lived here for a lot longer are all going, wow, that's a lot of rain. So it seems we were both prepared for the rain to hit and for us to pay attention to the different weather apps that are out there. Of course, one of the main reasons why we're doing this episode is because Apple acquired a company called Dark Sky. And Dark Sky was, I think, the thing that set Dark Sky apart from the competition was the fact that it used some special behind-the-scenes magic to do forecasting that was much more immediate than you would get with other apps. So you would have situations where you could get a notification that said, hey, it's about to start raining in 15 minutes, and hey, the rain's probably going to stop in about 10 minutes from now. So with that came the opportunity to be a little bit more prepared in the moment and know that if you walked outside, you might want to have an umbrella. Over time, Dark Sky continued to improve. And in fact, many other weather apps made use of the features that Dark Sky had because they offered up what they were doing as an API, which was a way for developers to kind of link into that information that Dark Sky was providing and then show it in their own apps. So over time, many of the most popular weather apps on iOS, outside of just Dark Sky itself, were in effect using what Dark Sky had on offer. Apple, of course, then acquired the company and said, hey, we're keeping this open for now, but we will eventually stop. We will, end this app. What they've continued to do, though, is offer, and this time instead as part of Apple's own services, the Weather API. So third parties are able to still make use of some of those features and the technology, but it's not in the same way as it once was. And in the meantime, folks are going, okay, well, now I need to figure out what app I'm going to use in place of Dark Sky. And so we thought we'd talk about that today with loads of different options. And I think it'd be great to start with the app that's built into all of our phones. So Rosemary, can you tell us a little bit about weather?
Yeah, so the Weather app is an app that has very recently seen a lot of significant upgrades because, of course, when Apple bought Dark Sky, what they did was they rolled the Weather app and Dark Sky into one so that you should see both, all that data together. And as you can see, I've currently got a severe weather warning here in the UK. There's moderate snow or ice warning until 10 a.m. tomorrow. And as it is, I went and defrosted my car earlier, so I hopefully won't be late to my ballet class. But the UI in the Weather app has changed a little bit. So at the top, if there is a severe weather warning, you'll be seeing that. And you'll also see who that's provided by. So in my case, that's the UK Met Office, who are pretty much our central authority over here for weather. But depending on where you are in the world, Apple will be working with various different local authorities to get that information. You see an approximate hourly forecast, which if you didn't know, when you tap on it, you can slide across and go ahead into the future. So I can actually go ahead all the way through tonight into tomorrow and see until about 24 hours in the future. Then underneath that, we've got a 10-day forecast. I can see air pollution, precipitation map. Yes, I live in the UK. This is usually some shade of blue. And other useful information such as the UV index, sunrise, and so on. But what is really useful is that you can actually get this data in other places as well. So, for example, you can have it on your lock screen, like right here at the top. Apparently, I forgot to take some medications earlier. That's fine by me. I just didn't log it. But right here at the top, it actually shows me the weather information, and that's coming from that same Weather app. And so you can pull this information into widgets. You can use it in shortcuts. And of course, you can, see various different places if you want to. So you can add others. So if I wanted to add Petaluma, which I know is where the studio is, then I can do that and I'll see. And it's actually updated this. So my background was a dark blue because it's after sunset. This is a lovely light sunny blue because in Petaluma, it's 5 whole degrees Celsius. Congratulations, folks. It's officially warmer in California than it is in the UK. I'm not sure if that's a surprise to anyone, but there we go. So I can add this to my list of cities, and then I'll see, and I get this lovely sort of overview. And you can search for cities or airports. Now, you can also get notifications from the Weather app. You have to allow access to your location all the time. I didn't realize that wasn't actually enabled for me. And then you will get alerts for severe weather and other things. So you can have it give you notifications for your current location for severe weather or the next hour of precipitation, but you can also choose other places as well. So if I wanted those notifications for Petaluma, I could enable that as I wanted to. So that is certainly worth diving into if you haven't played with this before. It's certainly a nice, pretty app, and I find that nowadays it's got a lot of useful information, and even more than it did previously. There's also a little map view where any of those cities that you've pinned will then appear on a map. So you can have like a little world view of the weather. And it's kind of cold out there, Mikah. Kind of rainy. Not looking great for the Earth in general. Maybe I should try Australia, but unfortunately, rain. They've got flooding there. Unfortunate, but you can, of course, update this map to choose from, instead of precipitation, you can have temperature or air quality. So if you want to view air quality around the world, you'll find that a lot of areas are just empty because they don't report their air quality, or they don't report it on the same scale that everyone else is using. And then you'll see, hopefully, where you are is nice and green. Unfortunately, some places, like right there, might not be so great. So hopefully those folks outside of Chicago are doing all right there. But it's worth diving into the Weather app if you haven't checked it in a while. Whenever you tap on this list icon in that map view, then you'll get the list of the current information for whatever view it is that you're looking at. So it's certainly worth playing with and giving it a try, especially, if you've not used Weather in a few years. It's pretty, it's got a lot of information, and it's worth a shot.
Absolutely. And it continues to improve, which is also nice. And the integrations with macOS, if you have a Mac, are also awesome. The app that I'll talk about is one that whenever somebody does ask me, what app should I get? I say Carrot. Carrot Weather is an app that will I think, do everything that you want, and then also has some fun involved with it. It's got some personality, and I think that's kind of what makes this app it just adds just a tiny little bit more to the experience. So here you can see AeroWeather. I've got it on an iPad, and I've chosen a location, San Jose. It tells the current temperature, what it feels like, and then it has some information for what the weather is going to look like over the course of the day. And you'll notice there's a little message underneath that says, "Rest in peace, third-party Twitter apps." That information changes throughout the day. Depending on your settings, you can make it say some things that are maybe not safe for work, some things that are funny, some things that are ridiculous, and everything in between. So you kind of customize the personality of your weather app. But tapping on this little animation and sort of illustration at the top shows me some more information that I might want, including precipitation chance, the amount of precipitation one would expect, wind, all of those things that you'd expect out of a weather app. And then, of course, you've got your forecast over the coming 10 days. And if you check down here all the way at the bottom, what does that say? It says the source of this weather is dark sky, because as I mentioned before, that is a common thing you'll see, is that many apps are making use of dark sky's own API, or in this case, Apple Weather's API. Now, I can tap on the three dots in the top right corner to have some options here, including Time Machine. That lets you go back and see what the weather was at any given time. AR mode, which is just a kind of, it's a little bit gimmicky, but it was just the opportunity to show the weather in augmented reality in 3D space. You can share a weather report. And over here, you've got your kind of standard locations. You got your current location, my hometown, St. Joseph, Missouri. I can tap on maps to see the radar, the weather radar over the course of time, as well as forecast over the course of time. I can make adjustments to that to see, is it precipitation? Is it temperature? Is it wind? Lightning strikes, tropical storms, cloud cover, satellite. All of these are available depending on how much you are, how much you're paying, because this is it starts out free, but with a subscription, you get access to a whole lot more to be able to kind of dig in. So especially something like lightning strikes, which I think is a pretty cool feature to see the lightning strikes out there. That does require that you have, and let me find that. I'm not sure how to bring that up. But anyway, then you have the Carrot itself, which is the little kind of assistant that you can talk to. It's the little AI. You can charge it up. You can praise it. Oh, and look, check this out. Charge my service to improve our relationship. I've got to pick an energy source. So I think I'll pick let's see, I picked time as the energy source, and then it added some stuff there. And look, I'm starting to build up some happiness. Oh, and I can also say words out loud to Carrot to give it some praise. So let me try that now. And I will say, Carrot is my favorite weather app. And now it's very happy and it starts to fill up. What Rosemary was reminding me is that there are also these fun little missions that you can do. So the missions, let's see what I've accomplished thus far. Well, let me scroll down. So where are the ones that I've done? I'm not exactly sure, but find a spaceship that's being used as a corporate headquarters. So you would want to look for that. And I think, Rosemary, last time we talked about Carrot, you told me where this was, but I don't quite remember at the moment. But ones that I found so far, the White House, the Great Pyramid in Giza, Westminster Abbey, and the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. And so you can kind of just scroll through the map and try to find these different places. It's just fun little mini games that are built into it as an extra option.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I should mention that you can also disable the fun statements on the front. Carrot has a whole bunch of options, including layouts. So you can actually go through and completely customize exactly what weather information you see. And, you can browse a gallery, so you can say, oh, right, actually, I would like to try this one, for example, which will have, the current weather plus like temperature and feels like at the top, weather warnings, and then a rain histograph. But you can choose exactly what you want. But other settings that are available allow you to do things like disable the snark level. So I believe it was under general personality. So I've got mine set to homicidal. It can actually go further to overkill personality, and you can take it all the way down to professional personality. And you can turn off things like the achievements and the secret locations. If you don't want to have that in your weather app, that's totally fine. You can also do things like hide the carrot tab, which is something that. If you don't want the silly missions and things like that, then you can get rid of those. Personally, I quite like going and poking Carrot's ocular sensor. Carrot gets kind of cranky when you do that. So, you can just keep having fun until you make it irrationally angry. And who knows, you may find that is a fun bonus.
Absolutely. And then the other thing is the other reason why I very much like using Carrot is because I do find that it has some great options on the Apple Watch. And I was trying to show you. Oh, there we go. Via AirPlay mirroring. So on my Apple Watch, in the middle of the watch face that I currently have, there on the right is the current high and low for Carrot Weather. And then this is launching the Carrot Weather app. Although I think it might crash here, which is no fun. Part of this is because I am running on this Apple Watch, the beta. But I'll just show you here. I love that I've got the high and low temperature at any time. And I'll switch faces just to show you it in the top right, and then edit to change out this complication. So Carrot has a bunch of options: the temperature plus the high and low, the weather plus the high and low, wind. It also has precipitation chance, UV index, humidity, pressure, visibility, dew point, cloud cover, sunrise and sunset, Fahrenheit and Celsius, if you are needing to translate between those regularly. It has an alternate version of the weather that includes a little icon to kind of give you a glance of what the forecast looks like. Moon phase, location, the current condition plus high and low, some snark if you want that there, maps to launch those different radars, alerts if you need them, and then of course the ocular sensor, which is the thing that you can tap on to make it say funny things. That is a bunch of different complication options that are right there on the Apple Watch. And I just think that's fantastic and really makes the experience all the more valuable, in my opinion. And it's why I end up using Carrot Weather on everything. So yes, again, available to download for free. And then you are able to pay a subscription to add even more features like those lightning strike maps and things like that. I think let's cover one more and then we'll take a break. Tell us about Met Office Weather Forecast.
Yeah, so Met Office Weather Forecast is the sort of official weather forecast app for the UK. The Met Office provides a lot of data, which is used by many other apps and services, including Apple's own weather app for things like, ice warnings and similar. The reason why I'm including it is not necessarily because it's a great app. It does have plenty of data. It's got maps. You can choose what layers you want on that map. So you could have a surface pressure video, which once it pops up, there we go. I can see how surface pressure is going to be changing over the next couple of hours and so on. I can choose cloud cover and so on. The reason why I'm putting this here is not because everybody wants UK weather data on their phone necessarily, though if you do, it's free on the App Store. Go ahead and download it. But I'd highly recommend having a look at whatever official app is provided by your local authorities or government, depending on where you live, just because they are the sorts of things that can send out weather warnings and alerts for things like that very easily, and you should definitely have that information available to you if there is a problem. If you suddenly get a flood warning, even though California doesn't get rain, you probably want to know about it. So definitely, as a piece of advice, make sure that you can get alerts about strange weather in various places. And don't forget to check out different weather apps when you travel as well. So, if you are coming to the UK, you may want to download the Met Office Weather app so that you can get information for where you are in the UK. But similarly, if you are going to France, you might want to download the official France Météo app or similar. So, check out whatever official app is provided for an area to make sure that you're getting 100% of the information that they are giving when it comes to things like weather warnings and things like that. You don't want to be out if they say that you should be staying at home.
That is a very good tip. I didn't know what it was called in the UK in comparison to the National Weather Service here in the U.S. I think that's what it's, National Weather Service. All right, let us take a quick break before we come back with even more weather apps for iOS, iPadOS, and more. I want to tell you about the group who's bringing you this episode of iOS Today. It's ACI Learning. We, of course, have talked a long time about IT Pro, IT Pro, of course, brings you those engaging, entertaining IT training, videos, and content. IT Pro is now part of ACI Learning. So ACI Learning is this bigger group, and they also happen to be the studio sponsors here at Twit. So we thank them for their support. Together, IT Pro and ACI Learning are expanding their production capabilities. They're bringing you content and learning mode you need at any stage in your development. Whether you want individual training for yourself or you want to train your whole team, ACI Learning and IT Pro have got you covered. Join more than 227,000 members of the IT Pro learning community with access to 6,800 hours of content, and new content is added daily. Get team training for CompTIA, Microsoft IT training, Cisco training, Linux training, Apple training, security, cloud, and more. One of the most widely recognized beginner certifications is the CompTIA A+ cert. CompTIA courses from IT Pro and ACI Learning make it easy to level up your employees who have vested interest in cybersecurity. The most popular certifications offered by ACI Learning include CISSP, AWS, ISACA, and CCNA. Other in-demand tech skills and certification courses offered are Technical Support Specialist, Computer User Support Specialist, Information Security Analyst, and so much more. Certifications show more than proving a skill set. They let your customers see that you are committed to keeping your organization up to date. And ACI Learning and IT Pro are with you every step of the way. With an IT Pro business plan, which is also an option, ACI Learning offers fully customizable training for your team. You can track your team's results, manage your seats, assign or unassigned team members, and access monthly usage reports. You can see metrics like logins, viewing time, tracks completed, and more. You can easily manage teams, so manage those subsets of users or teams by providing them with customized assignments, monitoring progress, reporting on usage of the platform. Assignments can be full courses or individual episodes within courses. Full access to advanced reporting as well, so that way you can get that insight into your team's viewing patterns and progress over any period of time with visual reports. Respected companies and government agencies around the globe, they turn to IT Pro and ACI Learning year after year to help them maintain their competitive edge. Supporting organizations across audit, IT, and cybersecurity readiness, ACI Learning keeps you and your team at the top of your game. From entry-level training to putting people on the moon, ACI Learning has got you covered. Maintain your company's competitive edge with ACI Learning and visit acilearning.com. That's acilearning.com. Thank you so much to ACI Learning and IT Pro for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. All right, back from the break, back into the show. And that means it's time to talk about a few other options if you're looking to replace your weather app on iOS or more. What is next on the list, Rosemary?
Yeah, so the chat room actually had some great recommendations for us when they were requesting weather apps as a topic. And so I thought we should really include some of them because, these are some of the apps that some of our users or watchers, listeners are using on a regular basis. And so I'm just going to pop up my iPhone because I really want to show people, if you're watching the video, the opening animation for Living Earth. Okay, so Living Earth, when you open it up, it has a globe that sort of is far away and then it zooms in and rotates around. And it actually starts when it's far away, like based on where you are on Earth, if you've given it access to your location information. And so the sun on the Earth is accurately trying to represent what what the weather is like right now. So where you have sunlight or don't have sunlight. Now, you've got some different places in here. So if I tap on New York City, then I can get the time in New York City and the date in New York City, as well as, what the weather conditions are like. And when I tap on the weather at the bottom, it overlays the weather on top. And I have to say, this is a really lovely app for just giving you a pretty sort of alarm clock style view of the weather. This is the sort of thing where if I'm leaving my phone unlocked on like a MagSafe stand on my desk, as I often do while I'm working so that it's charging, then I can just leave this like this and I'll just see as the day goes on. You can see it there if you're watching the video. There's a tiny little blue dot on the Earth. It's really difficult to see on the video that's sent through. I'll see if I can zoom in a little more to give you a representation of where you are. So you actually have a little idea of where you actually are on Earth. And you can, spin the whole globe, play with it. It's a very visual app. There are a lot of different settings that you can change. So if you want to have your wind speed in knots instead of miles per hour or kilometers per hour or meters per second, you can change that. You can choose what cities you've got, whether or not you see sunrise times. If you've got bright night clouds, so bright night clouds will essentially, instead of having grey clouds, dark grey clouds covering the Earth, you'll have a much lighter white on top as an option. And, whether or not it should prevent the display turning off on your phone. So once you're in this, it will do that. It's also got some gesture options. So when you double tap the Earth, then you can choose to have it either dim the screen or center your current city. And when you triple tap it, then you can switch to the Earth only view. I believe if I change that to dim screen, then triple tap will have another option. There's some other options too for getting tropical cyclone push notifications and whether or not that information is displayed in the notification center widget. You can also, if you tap on the option at the bottom, you can actually, if there were tropical cyclones, you could turn that on. Other than that, you can change between clouds, a temperature map of the planet. So I've got a lovely little rainbow here, Mikah. I really love this, where I've got the different colors representing, and it has a little key on the side to explain this as well. Or I could change to, for example, humidity levels. Oceans are pretty humid, it seems. That's not exactly surprising. Deserts, less humid. Okay, that checks out. There's other options as well. And then there's also a share feature where if I wanted to, I could just tap on Mikah and then share, and then it'll give me a little visual view that I can share with Mikah of what that looks like. And this is something that you can do in Carrot as well, where you can share a visual view. Carrot actually has the option to redact your location. So you can share the weather with somebody without sharing the location with them as like a screenshot without having to do any editing or anything, which is really nice. So yeah, I thought Living Weather was definitely worth a mention just because it's so pretty. It's $4.99 to download from the App Store. And there are some other things that you can enable in the app, but that you don't need to pay for any of the other features. Once you've paid for it and downloaded it, that's it, which is a pretty good deal for me. And there's also a separate Mac app version available as well, which is quite nice.
Nice. Yeah, it is very pretty. Just to have something kind of visually pleasing and also visually stimulating to kind of play around with it. It's a little bit of a fidget, so to speak, which is fun. Now, I like the next two that you've mentioned. I think, did you say this was one that our chat room had suggested?
Yeah. So all three of the next ones are actually from the chat room, and I've been playing with them, and I've just picked a couple that people mentioned. So AeroWeather has both a light version and a pro version. Light spelled L-I-T-E if you're searching for it in the App Store. Essentially what it will do is look to get nearby weather weather information. And then, so I've picked London City Airport, which is actually not very near me at all, but I can go and get an airport map and see where it is. So you'll see, folks, it's right on the right-hand side of London, and I'm all the way over here near Bristol and Cardiff, so it's quite a long way away. But I can actually get various different little bits of information, so I can see the sunrise and sunset from there, because, of course, sunrise and sunset, even just an hour or so away from you, east or west, is going to be quite a bit different. I can toggle between light modes and dark modes, and then there are a number of settings that you can enable, and I'll just go back to the map view. So once you are in the map view, oops, that's not what I was trying to tap. I was trying to tap on this one. Then you can, if you get the premium plan or you've got the Pro app, then you can actually unlock various different features, including radar if you're in the US, including Alaska, the Caribbean, Hawaii, and Guam. I didn't realize the Caribbean was part of the US. Anyway, that's a problem for another time. But you get to choose from a few different options. So you can have like a base map or a satellite map, and then it should be displaying weather information over the top of this. But I have a feeling that I accidentally set this up wrong when I reinstalled it earlier today. So it's not doing that. But there we go. You can even enable flight service information and submit user pictures. So I was exploring the weather around Salzburg earlier, and then somebody has sent this image of the weather from Salzburg, which has got some really lovely clouds. I don't remember what those clouds are called, Mikah, where you've got sort of lots of thin, like it's almost like stripes of toothpaste.
Cirrostratus, I think, something like that.
That sounds very cloud terminology like, so I'm going to give you full points for that. I'm sure somebody will write in and correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so once I've picked somewhere, so I'll pick Fairford base, then I can actually see like all of the detailed information about that weather station, and then see a map of where that is, and just see what this actually translates to. So I can get just the raw data, which is not particularly helpful, but then I can see what it actually means. So, I can see that the wind was at 240 degrees, that's west-southwest, and 3 knots, and so on. I just think that if you really want lots of detailed weather data, AeroWeather and AeroWeather Pro are some really good options for that. Because you're getting data from, like airports and other similar places which are very reliant on the weather to be able to do their job.
Nice. Yeah, those are well worth checking out. Again, I like the sort of crowd sharing options, and the in-depth information is always fun. And then one more to round things out.
Yeah. So the last one, I had to set it to download this and give it a try, because if you have, say, a drone like I do, and you want to be able to fly it, you need to know what the wind's like. Okay, the last thing you want to do is take something like a drone out and then have it smash into a tree, because it turns out there's gale force winds higher up and you just didn't know about it because you're in a bit of a sort of a valley where you're protected, but once the drone goes up, that's kind of it. Similarly, if you do other sports which are weather dependent, such as kite surfing or similar things, you're going to need to know what the weather is like. So Windy.app is a great option for this. So believe it or not, it specializes in wind data. So it can tell you exactly what the wind data is like, where you are, and it color codes it. Okay. So if I go back to now, then I'll see that at the moment, it's pretty good, like down near ground level. So ground level is where I can see the temperature going across the bottom. If you're watching the video, that's the light blue with the yellow dots there. I should note that this is showing my temperature in Fahrenheit, not Celsius at the moment. And then I can see the wind speed going up from there. Okay. So the higher up it is, the closer to the time it is, the higher up in the air it is. If my drone gets to 6,393 feet, I think I've got a problem, because I'm going to be in trouble. But what I can do is I can actually change the wind speed. Sorry, that's actually meters per second. There we go. I'll change that to miles per hour, and I'll change the air temperature to Celsius, so that looks a little bit more familiar. But I can now see, if I was looking to fly my drone at 6 p.m. tomorrow, well, first of all, I wouldn't be able to because it's after dark. So that's one problem. But secondly, I can see those wind speeds are getting quite a bit higher, which is not good for flying a drone. But maybe actually on Saturday, it might be a better day. That's not quite so bad. It's maybe getting a bit high around lunchtime, but after lunch perhaps would be a good time. So if you have something where you need to know about the wind information, so for example fishing, kite surfing, sailing is another option. Obviously flying a drone is one, snow sports, biking, diving and so on. All of these may actually benefit from this. There's also a light option where you can just be like, I don't have a sport that requires me to know all that much about wind information, but I'm interested in it, then you can actually select that and go through it. So Windy is free to download. It's Windy.app if you're searching in the App Store. But you can then get an in-app subscription, which here in the UK comes out at $52.99 a year for that weather data. Folks might be thinking, wow, that's kind of pricey. The Weather app is free. Yep, the Weather app is free. Weather data, unfortunately, is not. It's $59.99 a year US dollars as an in-app subscription. But it does actually, unfortunately, cost a lot of money to do weather data. Turns out I bought some at-home weather stations, Mikah, and I have to say they're pretty good, but they were not cheap and they're not as good as the professional level stuff. So maybe we'll have to look into home weather stations on a future show, because I've now got 2 of them because I bought one for my parents, so. But yes, yeah. Well, I mean, thank you to the chat room for making some recommendations, especially Windy, because that's been really helpful for me doing some drone footage over the last week or so.
Nice. Well, folks, that is a glimpse at all of the options that are in the App Store for you if you're looking at a replacement weather app for dark sky, or if you're just looking at your first third-party weather app. Of course, we'd love to hear about the weather app that you use if it wasn't mentioned on the list. You can send those suggestions or those mentions to iOS today at twit.tv. But it is time to move on to the news segment of the show, and I'll kick things off with a brief mention of technically 3 new products, or a few new products that Apple announced this morning as we record this show on January 17th. We had gotten some rumblings that there was going to be an announcement this morning, and that did indeed happen with Apple unveiling a MacBook Pro that has the M2 Pro and M2 Max chips, and a new Mac Mini that has both an M2 and M2 Pro chip. We don't talk a whole lot about Mac on this show or Mac OS on this show, so we did want to just do a brief mention, but the Mac Mini starts at $599 and of course goes up from there. You can start ordering the Mac Mini as of today, with availability starting, I think, is that next week? Yeah, next week, Tuesday. Wow, this month's already almost over. Tuesday, January 24th. Those will be available. And as for the MacBook Pro, it doesn't have the starting at thing, but you can start ordering those as well today in 14 and 16-inch sizes, with availability beginning also again next week, Tuesday, January 24th. The newsroom pieces have all of the information about how much faster they are than they have been in the past. The 14-inch MacBook Pro starts at $1999, and the 16-inch MacBook Pro starts at $2499. So there's some kind of little bits of information for you about those 2 new devices, as well as the 2 new Apple Silicon chips, the M2 Pro and M2 Max. The M2 on its own has been out for a while, as it is the chip that is in the MacBook Air. The M2 MacBook Air. So yeah, those are some new announcements this morning. And if, Rosemary, you had any other thoughts you wanted to add on that before we move along?
No, that's it. I've not really, unfortunately, had a chance to look. I've been working all day today. But it looks like these are pretty nice devices. So if you've been holding off on switching to Apple Silicon and you're still in an Intel and you were looking for, a Mac Mini or a MacBook Pro, personally, I'm loving my M1s. So, I can recommend it. And you know what? It looks like it's a pretty decent price for the Mac Mini at $599 as a starting point. So, it's worth hopping on if you have been waiting for the next version. Of course, the time it's released is always best. But other than that, wait and see when it turns up in the Reverb store, I guess.
All right. Let me. Before we move on, we've got some more news to cover. I did want to take a brief second to mention, and just was talking about how the month is about to end. That is a great time to remind you that we are doing our audience survey at twit.tv/survey23. When you head there, you will find a form that you can fill out that gives us a little information about you and about what you like about what we're doing, what you want to change about what we're doing, what you would want to see in the future, all sorts of stuff. It is your opportunity to tell us about your feelings about all the different shows, and also an opportunity for us to learn a little bit about who out there is listening and watching, because that helps us when it comes to advertising. So that means all the difference to us, but it also is an opportunity for you to share your thoughts and kind of give that feedback. Twit.tv/survey23. It only takes a few minutes to do, so it's not difficult at all. And the last day to take the survey is January 31st. So you want to hop on that, because that's 2 weeks from now. It is the 17th, and 2 Tuesdays from now will be the 31st. So definitely worth hopping on after the show, or if you want to, you can pause, head over there, twit.tv/survey23. I promise it won't take you very long at all. All right, back from that, and we did want to talk about a potential change that could be coming to iOS. This was noticed in the beta of iOS. What has changed about Emergency SOS, Rosemary?
Yeah, so Emergency SOS on your iPhone or your Apple Watch is the service that will call the emergency services if you press and hold a certain button. I'm not talking about the automated call that happens when you've got crash detection or fall detection enabled. I'm talking about when you've got your phone and you press and hold the power and the volume up buttons until it reaches a screen like this. So if I keep holding, it's vibrating in my hands, and you can see it's counting down, and then it starts doing a siren, and that's the point I'm going to let go, because otherwise I'm going to deafen all of you listeners at home. What has changed here is once you get to 0, essentially, it's not going to call the emergency services. Okay, so if your phone is like trapped in something and it's, something's just continually pressing the buttons, maybe you put it into a really tight pocket and got on a roller coaster, it is not going to call the emergency services from those 2 buttons being held until you release. That's what is changing, essentially. So it's going to change from you have to keep holding and keep holding and keep holding, and then it starts doing the call to you keep holding, and then you let go, and then it does that. I should note for anybody who does struggle with pressing and holding, especially if you've got a tighter case, once you've pressed on those 2 buttons and held it for a little bit, you get a screen up that allows you to slide the power off, show a medical ID, or do an emergency call. So you don't have to keep holding it and go through the siren. If you are just trying to make an emergency call on somebody's phone, you can just press and swipe. But they're changing how it works slightly. I suspect this is to reduce the number of accidental calls, but also if you're struggling because you've been injured and you're trying to call the emergency services, having to keep holding that, and then it finally makes the call, it holds it makes the call when you release it, which is a really useful feature. So fingers crossed that will work out for everyone. And as it is now, bonus tip for folks, once I've done this, I can't use Face ID on my phone until I've actually typed in my passcode again. So if you are thinking that maybe somebody's going to take your phone out of your pocket, like, a small child at a friend's house or something, and they're going to, potentially unlock it, it will not unlock with your watch or with your face until you've typed in your passcode. So you can just press and hold, and then you get that feature enabled. So there we go. But Emergency SOS is changing ever so slightly. It will pop up on your screen once iOS 16.3 releases to let folks know how that works.
That's good. I think a very good and exciting change is that Apple Maps will let businesses customize their listings. Finally, this is a change that I think a lot of people have wanted since the option for, Google since the option that Google gave for people to change their listings there. There's a Business Connect tool that will let you kind of log in and then customize the location cards in the Maps app. You'll be able to add a logo, some images to the entry. You'll also get to add some key information. Like there could be promotions that you have, a seasonal menu. And then you can offer the option to use, say, a grocery ordering service like Instacart. So that could be a link that's in there. Reserve a table via OpenTable, or if you're a hotel, then of course book a hotel. That started, according to Mac Rumors, as of January 11th, and that is for businesses in the U.S. and then Apple is rolling it out to businesses globally in the coming months. So all you do is log into Business Connect with a new or existing Apple ID. And then once Apple has verified the business, then you are able to claim that location and update/personalize that stuff just as you want. So I think this is great because I would love to see these little buttons you can press that kind of speed things along.
Yes. Yeah. It will be really nice to see what businesses put there, and hopefully businesses will actually, have the capacity to hop on board and take advantage of it. As it is, a lot of the information that you'll find in Apple Maps at the moment is sourced through things like Yelp and TripAdvisor and so on, and can sometimes be out of date, / never have been right. I found there was a shoe shop marked as just down the road from me, and that shoe shop has never ever been there for as long as I have lived in or near this town, which has been a very long time at this point. I moved here when I was 4 and I'm 32 now. So, it's never been there. So I think that shoe shop moved a long time ago and somebody gave Apple some bad data. But fortunately, you are able to report things as incorrect if you do spot them. And hopefully now businesses can claim their own thing and set it up themselves. There will be fewer pieces of incorrect information floating around.
That is certainly the hope. Then in news that is not great and is rather perplexing, we thought it was just the Apple Watch that required you to have an iPhone to set it up. But it turns out that Apple needs to, I think this is going to be something they need to fix. A person recently tried to set up their Apple TV, and in doing so, they were going through the process and it said, new iCloud terms and conditions, accept the new terms and conditions using a device signed into iCloud with the Apple ID, and then the person shared their Apple ID. This requires a device running iOS 16 or later or iPadOS 16 or later. And the person who tweeted this said, look, I own an Apple TV. I do not own any other Apple devices. How in the world am I expected to be able to set up my Apple TV? And I don't think this is entirely uncommon. I think that this is, people buy Apple TVs and they don't have other devices and they just want to use their Apple TV.
So it looks like, based on some of the comments on this article, that this is actually a messaging error. So if you do see this when you set up an Apple TV, or you've got a friend or family member who doesn't have any other Apple devices, they've just got an Apple TV, and they send you a message in a panic going, oh gosh, it wants me to have an iPhone. I don't want to buy an iPhone. What am I going to do? What you need to do on the Apple TV is sign out of your iCloud account and then sign back in, and then it should present the terms to you on the TV. The problem that's probably caused this is the fact that they've updated the terms on Apple TV recently. And when I say Apple TV, I mean the device, not the service. And if you do have an iPhone or an iPad, it will prompt you to accept them on your iPhone or your iPad, and you can just read them there and then tap continue. But I suspect when they hooked this up, they somehow missed something with the people that don't have that. And so it's saying that you need to have one to accept it. Other than that, you should be able to sign into iCloud.com and potentially sort it out there. But fingers crossed this will get fixed properly at some point. But as it is, I thought it was certainly worth noting. If you are somebody who's running into this problem, then maybe try signing out and signing in again. And if not, maybe if you can borrow an old iPhone or an iPad off of somebody to sign into the account to just accept the terms and conditions until Apple finds a workaround, that might help for the time being.
And then another moment of sadness. Tell us about the end of an era.
Yeah. I'm sad to say, folks, if you have opened Tweetbot, Twitterific, something like that recently, and you've run into an error of, hey, we can't access Twitter. This is nothing to do with Tweetbot or Twitterific. This is unfortunately a case of Twitter has decided they know best, and they have disabled the API keys that Tweetbot, Twitterific, and some other very popular apps used to access Twitter, which means that basically Twitter wants you to use the Twitter app or to not use Twitter. Personally, I've gone with the not use Twitter option, Mikah, and I'm sure quite a few folks have done the same thing. But it just means that these apps are dead. There was no warning that this was going to happen. A lot of the API team were actually laid off, unfortunately, after Elon Musk bought Twitter. But it means if you do have something like Tweetbot or Twitterific installed, then I would recommend checking the websites for Tapbots and Icon Factory. That's the makers of those, and also, the makers of any of the other Twitter apps that you're using that have suffered the same unfortunate fate, to see whether or not they have a Mastodon client or something else that you can start using. I'm personally using Ivory from Tapbots, and I'm really loving it. They're working really hard on getting that out as soon as possible. But yeah, if your Twitter app stopped working, it's not you. It's Twitter. Twitter broke it on purpose and decided not to tell you. So sorry about that, but at least you know now.
So frustrating so I personally have been using the first-party Twitter app for a really long time. I remember, years and years ago, I used Tweetbot, and there was some feature on Twitter that I needed or wanted to use, I guess. And so I moved over to that, and then I just never went back. But I know the love and time and attention and everything that these developers put into creating these apps for an experience on Twitter, and just to have it be shut down without any mention to anyone is really not cool. And just everyone should go read the Six Colors piece. I think Jason Snell did a great job in talking about it.
Yes, yeah. Paul from Tapbots and Craig from Icon Factory have also got some information online from them about what's happened and so on. And I should note that Tweetbot, the folks at Tweetbot, even tried changing the API keys that they use, and those got removed as well. So Twitter is very definitely doing it on purpose to target those apps. Yeah, because things like Hootsuite and business tools are still working. So if you see customer support from some companies still working, that's they're using an app that Twitter has decided that they're going to keep, but they're very clearly trying to get everybody to use the Twitter app. And the developer in me is like, you're doing it wrong, but I'm just going to leave Twitter to do its own thing
from the business perspective, but.
Yeah, I'm just going to find our awesome community elsewhere. I know a lot of folks have already followed myself and you, Mikah, on Mastodon. And, the iOS Today account is also on Mastodon at twit.social. So iOS Today at twit.social, which tweets out our new episodes and takes feedback if you send it in. So we'll make sure that we're still available to you on the internets.
Absolutely. All right. In just a moment, we will head into Shortcuts Corner, because that is what is next on iOS Today. It's time for Shortcuts Corner. This is Shortcuts Corner, the part of the show where you write in with your Shortcuts Corner requests, and Rosemary Orchard, your Shortcuts expert, provides a response. The first Shortcuts Corner request comes in from Scott in San Rafael, California, so very nearby where we are here in Petaluma. Scott writes, "Hi, this is my situation. I have Lutron electric, I have Lutron electric shades in our home, and I currently use the Lutron app to have the shades come down each morning at sunrise. However, there are days like today where it's very cloudy or foggy, and I would rather have them just stay up. I can also use AeroWeather to control them with my voice. I believe there should be a way between the Lutron app or the AeroWeather app to have them only come down when the weather condition says that it's not cloudy. Do you know how I can do this? Thank you.
Yeah, so I looked into this. I have a minor problem in that I have neither Lutron nor AeroWeather devices, so I couldn't actually test it with those. But what you can do in HomeKit, which I believe Lutron is, you can add Lutron things to that, is you can create an automation, and you can also create, automations in the Amazon's app. So, you can hopefully, fingers crossed, follow this along and translate it. And so I'm just going to pop in and do the sunrise trigger on an automation. I'm going to set that to every day. It doesn't need people or anything. And then scroll to the bottom. Yep, a lot of scrolling involved. And then tap convert to shortcut. I'll remove that scenes. And then I'm just going to check the weather because, we're talking about weather today. And you can actually get your weather details in the shortcuts actions in HomeKit shortcuts. So what I'm going to do is get the current weather. Okay, and then I am going to use the weather information, and I'm just going to, if I can type weather, this is a little bit more helpful, get the details of the weather conditions. So what I can do is I can do things like get the precipitation and so on, but what we actually want is cloud coverage. So condition is approximately cloud coverage. So if I run this at the moment, then it should show me that it's mostly clear. Okay, but it doesn't matter because what we need next is a little if action. And then we're going to say if, and then we'll just select our weather condition. And then we will say contains cloud. Okay, and we want to use contains because if you've got heavy cloud or light cloud, then you probably want it to do this. Okay, I'll just remove the otherwise. And then what we'll just need is from the home option, then you're going to have control, and this will have the name of your home here. And then you can tap on set scenes and devices, and then you'll be able to choose something. So I am going to tap on, where is my office? My office is hiding from me. Here we go. My office blind is right there. And so I can tap that, and then I will tap open. Oh, and you said if it doesn't, so there we go, does not contain. So if it's not cloudy, or if it is cloudy, you wanted it to stay open. So actually what we should do is, so if it's cloudy, then it will open, and then I can just pop back the otherwise and say close it. Or if it doesn't contain it, then you can close it instead. So, whichever works for you, but fingers crossed this will translate into something that you can do with Amazon's smart home. But maybe you can just add your Lutron to HomeKit and take advantage of shortcuts in HomeKit to do this sort of thing. Who knows?
Beautifully put. The next one comes in from Simon. Simon writes, "Hi, Mikah and Rosemary. Huge fan of the show. The power user tips you provide convinced me to move over to Apple. Before this, I never realized how much you could do with iOS products." Cool, Simon. I have a shortcut question. I noticed that Rosemary has over 1,000 shortcuts in her app. Sorry, I have to shout it because there are 3 exclamation points. I appreciate that many of these will be for testing and demonstration purposes, but it got me wondering about the best way to organize. And folks, I have to note that Simon has spelled organize with an S, so is therefore likely a user of the Queen's English. The best way to organize my shortcuts on my home screen without cluttering up too much. I appreciate that I could probably have certain shortcuts show up depending on focus modes, a la the Matthew Casanelli method, but do you have any tips on keeping organized? My issue is that with so many shortcuts, by the time I've found the one I want, it is often quicker to just run the process manually. Keep up the good work, Simon. So organization of shortcuts.
Yeah, so this is a really good question. And I'm going to give you my secret sauce, which is, here's my home screen, at least my home screen right now in my podcasting focus mode. But you'll notice I don't actually have a shortcuts widget here. I do have something which is very out of date, so I'm just going to remove that widget because that's not supposed to be there. In my dock, I have shortcuts. And what I will usually do is in all shortcuts, I know what I'm looking for. And so I'll just type what I'm looking for, and then I can just find it. But I also have folders. So you'll see here, there is, something with a little phone next to it that iOS today. And this one actually belongs in that folder. And I deliberately moved some of these out earlier, Mikah, because I knew that I was going to be talking about this on the show. So what you can do is you can actually move your shortcuts into other folders. And this is a really good way to, just keep track of things. But also, if you put your shortcuts in a folder, then when you go to add a widget to your home screen, and I'll just add a shortcuts widget here because I've made sure that I have a second home screen with some space for that. When I choose a widget, so I'll choose the big one. Okay. When I tap on this, I can actually choose a folder. Okay, so that folder will then only show me the shortcuts from that folder, which, that widget will only show me the shortcuts from that folder, which makes this a lot easier because then I know if I've put it in there, it's going to be the most recent 1 or 4 or 8 that show up. So that helps me organize it. But honestly, it is just a case of, I've been doing my best to go through and put these in folders. I have not done an amazing job, as you can tell, because I have this folder called Organize with 1058 shortcuts in there. So I've got a little bit of work to keep doing. But you know what? It's a work in progress. And the most important shortcuts are the ones that I know where they are. And I've made a point of pulling them out and pulling them into other folders as I've gone. So yeah, it's a combination of that. The other thing that I do is I do try to set a color and an icon that makes sense to me. Okay, so this open draft shortcut here, which is the second one down on the left if you're watching the video at home, that has the opened diamond overlaid on another open diamond. And that is just the default shortcuts icon. That tells me that that is almost certainly going to be a shortcut that I'm probably happy to get rid of and delete. So actually what I can do, tap on the edit, and I'm just going to delete 3 shortcuts, 3 whole shortcuts, Mikah. They're gone. Good news, folks. I'm down to 1,498. I think I've got some organizing to do, but there we go. So yes, combination of folders for the most important things and search to find everything is basically what I do. Other shortcuts are just, run from other things automatically, so I don't need to find them necessarily. Like I have a widget that does it, or it's on my home screen as a shortcut.
All right. Whoa. This doesn't usually happen, but a Shortcuts Corner question has just magically appeared in my head and not in the document.
No,
so I'm putting you on the spot just a tiny bit,
dun, dun, dun.
But I think it may not. I think you might have this figured out, but if you don't, we will save it for next week. So I'm proposing a shortcut that is a way for me to text someone. When I tap on the button, because I, of course, save it to my home screen, I tap on it and it automatically composes a text message that I can then send to whomever by typing in the contact. But here's where the tough part is. I want this message to start out by saying, "Good morning!" or "Good afternoon!" or "Good evening!" And I want that to change depending on the time of day, where noon or later is good afternoon up until, say, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. to throughout the night is good evening. And then good morning is from 6 a.m. until noon. So date or time ranges in a given day lead to a selection of the phrase. That's the tough thing that I have not been able to figure out.
Yes, it can. So you've got a little bit of a complication there because you want it to say good evening until 6 a.m. And yeah, Mikah, you're just making my life difficult. So let's pretend for the time being that pre-6 a.m. is also good morning because it's technically morning. Okay. And I'll let you figure that bit out at home. So what we need to do is we need a format date action. Okay. And in that format date, we want to put our current date. And then when we format the date, we're not actually going to be using any of these options at all. We're going to take the full format string and just replace it with HH. Okay, and that HH needs to be in capitals, and there must be 2 of them. Well, I think actually we could probably get away with 1, but let's go with 2. But the reason why we're doing this, is we're getting 24-hour hour. Okay, so we care about the hour here. And then what we're going to do is, so from lunchtime onwards, right, Mikah? That's
from lunchtime onwards.
So what I'll just do is I'll just pop in a get numbers from input here because this will make sure that it's not still being worked around as a date. We're just getting the hours. Okay, so if numbers is greater than 11, okay, we are going to put our text in of good morning, good afternoon, because that will be 12 or later. Okay, so just say good afternoon. And then we'll pop that exclamation mark there. Okay, and then we will just duplicate this if statement and say, I'm failing to move things around. And then if it is greater than, you said from 5 p.m. onwards, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So if it's greater than 16, because 5 p.m. is 1700 hours onwards, then we'll say good evening. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something that I rarely do nowadays in shortcuts, but it makes more sense to do it here. I'm going to use a set variable action. Okay, and the reason why I want to explicitly set a variable is because this way we don't have to try and figure out where the magic is coming from. We know that this is our greeting, which if I could spell the word greeting would be even better. So I'm just going to duplicate that set variable action, and I'm just going to change that text to make sure that it is the right text that we want. So I'll use the select variable to make sure, and it's coming from here. And then we need to do one more piece of magic, okay, which is right at the beginning. I'm going to go back and I'll do this before the ifs, where we check everything. Okay. And I'll just set it to make sure that that is indeed morning. Okay, so we're going to start. Our default is good morning. And then
so you don't even have to worry about. Okay.
Well, I mean, we don't have to, but you could say if it's if it's less than 6. Okay, less than 7. If you want from 7 a.m. onwards to be good morning, then you could change it to good evening or something. But now we've got this. Now I just need another text action, and I'll just pop in this variable of the greeting. Okay, and let's see what happens. So it should come out with good evening, and it's come out with good morning. Why did it come out with good morning? Because I have changed this incorrectly. That's... there. But either way, this is how you would do that. And then you just need to add the message action. So I will make sure to get this tidied up so that we can pop it in the show notes. And then there we go. You can have this.
One question. So it's smart enough to know, because you have 2 in there that say if it's greater than this, and then you have another one that says if it's greater than this. It's smart enough to know that even though, because the first one is technically true, but you've got the second one that is also true, because it's lower than it's saying this one's truer. Got it. That's what I was curious about.
Yeah. So basically what we're doing is we're saying, hey, our greeting is good morning. Oh, wait, if it's after 11, then our greeting is good afternoon. Oh, wait, if it's after 4, our greeting is good evening. After 5 or after greater than
1600 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Then our greeting is, good evening. So basically we're saying, okay, set it to this. Nope, we're going to set it to this. Nope, this time we're setting it to that. And we're changing the same thing every single time. So I will get this tidied up a little bit, and then we can pop that in the show notes for you, Mikah.
Beautiful.
Challenge accepted, and fingers crossed I will have accomplished that.
Challenge accepted and absolutely passed on the fly. That is amazing, Rosemary.
Thank you.
All right, heading into feedback and questions, we had one from Ashley who's following up. Ashley says, thanks, Rosemary, for helping come up with a solution for my time zone question when trying to add a calendar event with shortcuts. As someone who goes to conferences and needs to input meetings and seminars in different time zones, your solution was really helpful. As a tip, for something I found before Christmas, have a look at TV Launcher. It's super neat app. It is a super neat app designed for Apple TV, but it also works on iPhone and iPad, which allows you to launch live TV from one interface rather than hunting it down through each provider's app. Works for all major UK channels and some in the US. Plus, there's also shortcut support to launch a specific channel. Thanks, Ashley.
Well, there we go. Thank you, Ashley, for writing back. And I'm really glad that that did work out with the different time zones. It's one of those things that's kind of tricky. Dealing with time zones and conferences somewhere else is definitely, where you're going to want to have all those things in the right time zone. So I'm glad you got that sorted.
And then Jeremy has written in with some follow-up in response to the questions that we've got. Jeremy writes, Dave wrote about leaving his phone in his Equinox because it was on the wireless charger. So you may remember we had Dave message in and said, hey, look, I love my car that has CarPlay. It's got wireless charging. I set my phone down. It automatically connects to the wireless CarPlay. But what happens is I get home, I park the car, I turn it off, and then I go in the house, and then I realize, oh, darn it, I left my phone in the car. And so Dave was asking for help with how can I be reminded that I need to grab my phone? So here's the rest of what Jeremy said. The system in GM vehicles is like what you experience, Rosemary, where CarPlay doesn't disconnect until you open the door, which is when the radio turns off. So unless you're in the habit of opening the door, then sitting in the vehicle for a minute or so to hear any reminder, any automation won't help much. Though before I leave my car when I get home at night, I had to set up the automation because it was such a good idea. So Jeremy actually did try it to see if it would work. One thing that I don't understand, though, how is Phone Buddy supposed to help? If you have to wait until you are wearing your watch far enough from your phone for it to notify you, depending on what protocol is used, you could be very far away. According to the info on the App Store, it uses Bluetooth for knowing the disconnection happened. I can easily be inside my house with the garage door already closed and the lights off before Bluetooth will disconnect. It seems like Dave would still have to make an additional trip out to the garage to get his phone, though maybe not as late after getting home. If Dave has an Apple Watch, maybe the automation route is the way to go. But when CarPlay disconnects, don't just play a sound from the iPhone, turn the flashlight on for the Apple Watch. That might give enough indication while close to the truck to save a trip. Though if Dave has an Apple Watch, more steps for the rings might be good. Jeremy. Lots of thoughts here.
Yeah. So this was a really good message. I'm really glad that Jeremy wrote in, because you can indeed turn on the torch on your watch. But depending on what you're wearing, you might not notice it. Like right now, okay, my watch is out and visible, but if I pull my cardigan over the top, even when that flashlight turns on, which I can do right now, I can't tell that this is on at all. And it seriously is, but you can't see that. So the reason why I suggested Phone Buddy is because what you can do is you can actually change your distance thresholds alert in Phone Buddy to say that it's really close, and you can actually see, I'll turn this on right now. I can see my current signal monitor. Okay.
That's neat.
I can actually see how close this is, and I can actually tweak that really far down. So I'll get an alert when I'm like really close to my iPhone, and then like just move a little bit further away. And you can actually really tweak this. And also change it to like keep notifying you, or just to notify you once, and so on. And you can have Wi-Fi safe zones, though that might defeat the point for Dave with the leaving your phone in the car problem. But either way, I've personally found Phone Buddy to be really good for this. I've been testing this out a lot over the last couple of weeks, and you know, I'm finding that this works really well, because you can get a distance alert as well as my phone has been disconnected from my watch alert. As a warning, when your watch completely and utterly runs out of battery, it will absolutely go berserk, going, you've lost your watch, you've lost your watch, you've lost your watch. But that's probably a good thing, so you know that you need to put your watch on charge. So yeah, Phone Buddy has been helping me out with this, and I'm glad that Dave wrote in, because it's given lots of people some ideas of various things that they can do. Absolutely.
I will definitely be checking out Phone Buddy. And I think, too, it would be helpful. I don't know, does Shortcuts, because there are some third-party apps that can access the quote-unquote critical alerts feature on iOS, which basically circumvents any do not disturb that you have. Is there an option within Shortcuts to send a critical alert?
So nope, there is not. Shortcuts can't send a critical alert, so you would need to use something like get contents of URL to send a notification using another service that has that. And not only does Shortcuts not have critical alerts, it doesn't have the option to allow it in various focus modes. So you can't even like turn it on unless you are in a focus mode that is opting things out rather than opting things in. So
Dang.
I would probably go with the Phone Buddy option, because that does have critical alerts.
There you go. All right. With that, I believe it is time for us to move along to our final segment of the show. Our final segment of the show up next. It's time for App Caps. This is the part of the show where we wear caps atop our heads to honor our app and gadget picks of the week. These are the apps and gadgets we are using now or have used at some point that we think are great and want to tell you all about. And as a way to say, hey, we love these things, we put stuff on our heads. So Rosemary Orchard, tell us about the cap atop your head and then tell us about your app cap pick this week.
Well, the hat atop my head is one that I have liberated. Let's go with the word liberated from my dad's wardrobe. Don't worry, he'll be getting it back tonight, folks. But this is a lovely, it's a sort of almost baseball cap style with a nice sort of brim. But it's a thinsulate cap and it's actually really warm. And it's got some nice fleecy sort of furry bits around the side, which you can pop her up or you can pop down to either hold your in-ear headphones in for iOS today or to keep your ears warm, depending on what you're doing. And I have to say, I'm very much enjoying this hat. I stole it for most of last week and he will probably be quite grateful to get it back from me. So yeah, that's my hat. And so my cap for the week is something that I've been playing with because one of the things I love to do on my phone, and I'm sure a lot of folks love to do, is take pictures. What is the thing that drains your battery? Taking pictures. What is something that can also be a little bit difficult to do, like holding your phone in the right position to take a picture or pressing the button to take a picture at various times. And so that is where Shift Cam comes in. And so Shift Cam starts, this is the set that I have here is the creator set, but there are three parts to the creator set. So first of all, there is the Snap Grip, which has Bluetooth connectivity to your phone so that when you press this button in the camera mode, then it will actually, take a picture. But it's also a MagSafe battery pack. And the whole Shift Cam set is MagSafe. So when you pop it on your phone, yeah, it's actually charging my phone for me, which is great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a MagSafe battery pack and it's, a nice stand as well. It's quite chunky and so it's a nice grip that you can hold that feels like a more normal camera might. And of course you can use this on any number of devices. But in that creator pack, you also get this, which is the Shift Cam Snap Light, which, yes, MagSafe's onto the Shift Cam grip or MagSafe straight onto your phone. It's got a little mirror inside of it. And then, yeah, that is a light, folks, around that mirror so that you can actually have that like shining on your face. And I've got a studio light on here, so you can't really tell when it's shining on my face, but it's pretty great for things like that. Of course, you can also point it away if you need that. But, with the mirror involved, it can be quite nice if you need that sort of thing. And I'm just going to turn that off because otherwise I'm probably going to shine that like directly in the camera at some point. And then there is a third part to this because I'm sure many of you have tried selfie sticks in the past. But the problem with the selfie stick is related to the Emergency SOS feature I talked about earlier. Grips the side of your phone. You grip the side of your phone wrong and your phone will go into a lock mode where you can't even open the camera until you have undone that. But what you can do with the Shift Cam Snap Pod is, yeah, your phone just MagSafes onto it, which makes getting it on and off super easy as well, so that you can then open up the handle, which is a nice little tripod. If you want, you can tilt this backwards, forwards, sideways, whatever makes sense for you. And because you have this, which is a battery, as well as a Bluetooth remote for the camera, if you buy the set, then of course what you can do is you can actually use this to take a photo from your phone at a distance, even if you don't have an Apple Watch to use that camera feature. So I have been trying this out. I have to say, I'm really enjoying it. I really appreciate the fact that the whole set magnetizes together. So if I'm going to turn this battery off because otherwise I'm going to forget that it's turned on and get confused when I've not got a battery later because I keep sticking it to my phone. So like I've got the whole thing like MagSafe together here and it's pretty cool. But if I just remove the a Snap Pod, which is the sort of selfie stick from it, and I just pop the selfie light on the grip, then I can pop it in this neat little case that came with the kit as well. So the whole kit you can get together. At the moment, the deal is that it's a whole kit for $129.99, but I have to say I got it cheaper in the January sales just after Christmas. So keep an eye out for that. But individually, the Snap Grip, which is the battery pack with the Bluetooth button, is $69.99, and the Snap Pod and the Snap Lite are $39.99 each. So yeah, I think that this is a pretty nice way to, potentially up your camera game a little bit on iPhone or iPad. And there's also a Shift Cam Pro option if you are looking for more pro photography sort of things that you can attach to your iPhone. So worth checking out. I just stumbled across this sometime over Christmas and went, I'm going to have to check this out. This seems pretty cool.
That's
and I have to say,
cool.
The light has already come in really handy for a couple of things. So yeah, I'm really glad I grabbed it.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'm going to be eyeballing that as well.
Yeah.
All right. The cap atop my head is a sort of a standard. I've worn it before on the show. It's a standard baseball cap. And it has, it's kind of aged. It's supposed to look like it's been worn 100 times, although it hasn't. And it's got the Dungeons and Dragons logo on it. I'm feeling very Dungeons and Dragons-y today. So I thought I'd wear that cap. And my app cap this week is not an app cap. I just recently, in fact, over the weekend, finished the Wheel of Time series. It's 14 books, 15 with the prequel, which I have not yet read, but 14 books. And I just came to the conclusion there. And it's very, very, very exciting. If you are into fantasy and especially fantasy epics and like long stories that kind of just keep giving and giving and giving, then this is something that is well worth your time. One of the authors I like in fantasy, Brandon Sanderson, helped finish these books when Robert Jordan passed away. And so Robert Jordan wrote the first, I think, 11 or 12. No, I think it's 11 books. And then Brandon Sanderson wrote 12, 13, 14 with Robert Jordan's notes and everything like that, and with the blessing of his wife, who is his editor as well. Very good. So many different characters that you start to know and adore. And I just found it was well worth the time. I am an Audible user, and so I tend to read books through audio. And I had so much fun listening to these titles for sure. And so, it depends where you get your audiobooks, or if you like to get books, or if you want to check them out from the library. So price varies, of course, but I will throw my hat in the ring as another recommender of the Wheel of Time series. And now that it's an Amazon Prime Video show, it was fun watching that and sort of seeing the different characters that have just been in my head. So yes, that's the Wheel of Time, and this has been iOS Today. I hope you have found a weather app that you want to use, or if not, that you got the inspiration that you need for that. Again, tell us about the weather app that you choose, and if it's one of the ones that we hadn't mentioned, you can send those responses to iOS Today at twit.tv. That's where you can also send feedback, questions, Shortcuts Corner requests, etc., or follow us on Mastodon, where we are iOS Today at twit.social, and you can also send your messages there. Rosemary Orchard and I record this show every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, or round about that time. You can head to twit.tv/live to watch the show live on a bunch of different streaming platforms. The best way we think to get the show is to subscribe or follow the show, because that way you get a beautiful little package as soon as the show is edited and put together and available in your podcast application or podcast service of choice. So we are on many a platform. You head to twit.tv/iOS, and there you can subscribe to audio or subscribe to video and grab the show on your platform of choice. If you would like to help support the network, help support this show, and also get every single Twitch show ad-free, you should check out Club Twit at twit.tv/clubtwit. Starting at $7 a month or $84 a year, you can join the club. And when you do, you get some great things. Again, every single Twitch show ad-free because you are the sponsor in effect. You also get access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has extra content you won't find anywhere else. Outtakes, behind the scenes, before the show, after the show, that kind of stuff, as well as events in our club. And access to the members-only Discord server. That's a place where you can go to chat with your fellow Club Twit members and also those of us here at Twit. A fun place to hang out and see what folks are chatting about. I say it starts at $7 a month. That's because we heard from some folks who said, hey, I would like to give more than $7 a month. Is there a way to do that? And we said, well, there wasn't, but there is now, by flipping some sort of switch that lets you pay more if you'd like. And that's because the fun doesn't stop there. We try to continue to add value to the club. And that includes 3 awesome shows. The Untitled Linux Show, which is a show, as you might imagine, all about Linux. Paul Thurrott's Hands on Windows, which is a show that gives you tips and tricks about Windows. And then my show, Hands on Mac, which is all about Apple. And I've got tips and tricks. It's a shorter format show, tips and tricks and everything in between to help you make the most of your Apple devices. People said, why isn't it called Hands on Apple? Well, if you want to talk to a lawyer about how we're using the name Apple as a title for a podcast, then you be my guest. But until then, Hands on Mac is going to have to do. So please check all of those out as part of twit.tv/clubtwit. And we thank you for subscribing and helping to support the network. Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out all the great work you're doing, please let me know how to do that.
Well, the best place to go is rosemaryorchard.com, which has links to all the places that I am on the internet and all the other podcasts and so on that I am on as well. And of course, you can also find me in the Club Twit Discord, nerding out with some folks who are currently marveling that I built a shortcut on air and have posted it inside of the Discord. So if you're there, you've already got it. If not, it'll be in the show notes. Mikah, where can folks find you?
You can find me online, also celebrating that Rosemary has created a shortcut during the show. You can follow me at Mikah Sargent on many a social network or head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUA.coffee, where I've got links to many of the places I'm most active online. Thank you all for tuning in this week. We will be back next week with another episode of iOS Today. Until then, though, we say goodbye to all of you and stay warm /cool bundled up /dry out there, everyone. Goodbye.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands on Photography here on Twit TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.